Hey guys, it's Tristan here from ZebraInvest, and today I'm sitting down with Daisy Hill from Dots Design and Planning. She's a proper gamekeeper turned poacher, having worked for a few different planning authorities, helping people or stopping people getting what they want and their dreams becoming a reality. So today we're going to be talking through what does a slam dunk of a planning application look like, how can you ensure they're going to be successful, and when you have got nosy neighbours who want to make sure that little extension you want to crack out and get done to turn into 2 extra bedrooms won't get through. Overcoming those issues and helping applicants get through to get what they want and what they want to achieve, and potentially compromise. Who wants compromise? But there we go. So Daisy, when you previously received a planning application, what does a really good application look like? And actually, how have you used that now with your business to make sure that when you put an application in, you're going to get rubber stamped and they went, yes, Daisy, we love you?
I don't think there is anything, such as a slam dunk application. Things come up in every application that you can never foresee. So I think prepare to what's that phrase they say? Expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
So most of the applications that have the most niggles, the most things to overcome, are actually the smaller applications in my experience. So for example, just doing a simple extension on a house, because it's often such an emotional and personal thing, neighbours can get quite funny about the change. They can get the parish council involved, they can lobby their councillor. Those types of application where there are so many different feelings and people can often be quite complicated, whereas they should be quite simple.
I think that's probably one of the bits that, that comes down to it. It's actually a really good planning statement at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because if you can address most of the issues from the offset, and especially like you're saying with the smaller applications, if you've got a permitted development application for an extension, which a lot of people are doing to add rooms to HMOs, actually if you've got a really clear statement at the beginning, it's very difficult for someone to say, oh, I don't understand why this application's gone in or how not to prove it.
I think the thing we're up against though, even if you have that in a planning statement, sometimes other parties, even the parish council, even neighbours, don't accept that. So in terms of a slam dunk of an application, I think certainly what I think and what I try to do is I will often prep my client. So look, we're going to put this application in. Policy wise, we're fine, but bear in mind, your neighbour's not going to like it. Someone might have an issue about this. It might affect that business. So a slam dunk of an application is actually foreseeing those things that are likely to come up and being able to say, look, we knew this and that's okay. We can get round this. Just because your neighbours don't like it doesn't mean it's not acceptable. Yeah. It's not approvable.
Well, I think on the side of the neighbours and that side of things, it's even just before you put the application in, just going and knocking on the door and asking them about it before you get started. Because if you have a chat with everyone else in the area, and you could find 1 or 2 who are going to say no, but you might actually even find 1 or 2 who say, that's a nice house and you're a nice person, you've dropped a bottle of wine to my house, and I'll bet a nice little application successful. But I've done it, for example, one of the applications I've done, I just went and met the neighbour and said, I want to put some windows in here, this is what it looks like, and in all honesty we had drawn bigger windows than what we wanted, and I said, well, how about we change and make them smaller and we do this? And actually they sat there and thought, well, you're making a compromise for us. Yeah. And granted, I just wanted the windows, but actually by talking to them beforehand, I think that's what really helps with it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you can't please everybody all of the time anyway, but I think you're right. You can take certain steps to placate other parties that can have their say. I think as well, just in any application there are going to be things you're going to have to iron out. And that's okay, not going into something expecting it to just sail through, that's when you'll be disappointed. But it's making sure that you, at each step, okay, this is okay, we can deal with this, and this is what we'll do from that, and hopefully that's
kind of overcoming the issues before they've happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
But one of the bits I put on as a little comment is, I think the Planning Commission has started to get a little bit like Buckaroo. And the reason I say that is Buckaroo. It's quite a good fun game, but originally we start off with a nice donkey, and we've got the nice donkey, and actually in my idea, that's the house.
I thought you were going to say you were the donkey. Or me.
And it would be a zebra then.
Oh yeah.
And so we start off with this zebra, and then we then add on. So now we then add on a hat, and the hat could be the bat consult, the bat. And then the next bit is we're going to add on a weights, whatever stuff. We're adding all little bits more, but we're then adding on transport. We're then adding on this, and actually, a planner has gone into become a planning officer because they probably actually enjoy the architectural side, seeing how you can help improve an area through planning. But it's almost got to a little bit of a point where you are being the gamekeeper, stopping stuff coming in, because you've got so many other departments to work with the council.
Yeah.
Which I think actually now that's where a planning, working with a planning consultant, that's what makes your life easier.
Yeah.
And actually where an architect falls down.
Yeah, potentially. I think architects are absolutely fabulous at what they do. I was an architectural designer for 10 years before I moved into the dark side of planning, and I stayed in my lane. And I think that's the thing. It's having all those people around you, and being able to access that information to inform what you're doing. That's really helpful. But yeah, planning is such a big thing, and there are so many things that feed into it before you probably need to put pen to paper sometimes.
So how do you try and help applicants along the way, or guide them through their design or their idea of what they want to do or how they want to try and achieve it?
I think,
because you've obviously got the design side as well, so you can kind of have a bit of a help.
I think the thing I feel really lucky to have is that vision. So often, I think sometimes planners are very 2D. And they're very policy based, which I am, but I can have that vision. And sometimes people will say, this is what I want to do, and I'll say, well, what if you did that, or what if you did this? And actually I used to get told off when I worked for one of the local authorities in Norfolk, because I would send sketches back to the architect or the client, the applicant or the architect, to say, why didn't you do this, and then that's going to fit with the policy, which I always thought was really good, because you're supposed to work together.
Surely that is a good idea, because you're actually helping them rather than trying to get them second guessing what you're looking for.
So I couldn't stop myself. I was always saying, why don't we do this? Why don't you just bring it in and hit the roof, and that lessens the impact on the neighbour. And
I've got that hip through.
Yes, exactly. You have got that hip through. But it's I suppose that's where I come in. I'm not just a planner. That's my specialism, but I can wear the other hat. Yeah. And then when we bring in an architect or an architectural technician, you're kind of starting on a winner. This is what we need to do. This is probably the height we need because of policy. And then they can take it from there. And you're heading into that application knowing that you're on the right foot.
Yeah. And so the last thing we said was about compromise. So from my side, there's no. I think you always have to think about it. What kind of compromises you might take with the development, or are you willing to lose a bedroom? What kind of compromises do you usually, on the planning side, do you usually come to with a planning officer?
I'm no good at compromise either, I will just say that. But the way to do it is to dress it up so it doesn't look like compromise. And it's making it, you've got to make sure that the planning officer doesn't think that they're compromising, and the client. So what I mean by that is, I've had a scheme at the minute for an annex, and it was always going to be a bit of a challenge. So I said to the applicant, they needed it this big, and I said, well, that's fine, but we might need to make it a bit smaller. So I'd already prepped them that it might need to compromise. I knew that the authority would want it a certain way as well, but I'd kept a little something up my sleeve. So there was an existing building on the site, and I knew that the authority would be really keen to incorporate that in the annex. So I went back to the authority and I said, look, if we reduce the size of the new build, which is what you want because you want it reduced, but if we incorporate it into the existing shed on site and we retain the heritage and we do that, how would you feel about that? And they were like, oh, that's actually really nice. It works really well with the site. So the authority didn't realise that I'd got one over on them, or given them what they wanted. But also the clients were like, oh, you've still managed to get us that extra space by having the existing. So for me, it's always, I have a couple of things up my sleeve.
It's a bit of a win-win there, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, they have both kind of compromised, but they've also both won. But it's playing the game, and I'm quite good at seeing where I can hold something back to then draw that card later on. So compromise, but it's not compromise. Yeah, absolutely.
So okay, well, thank you very much, Daisy, for sitting down and running through that. Hopefully you've got a rough idea of how you're going to get a slam dunk, or maybe not a slam dunk, but how you can get an application as smooth as possible. If you've got any questions about this, please drop them in the below. Smash that like button and subscribe. We've got a couple more episodes coming where we're sitting down with Daisy. So listen in. Cheers, guys.